grateful that you've come on the show today to tell us about this process, because we must tell these stories. Good morning, Australia. Good evening, America, and welcome to everyone across the planet. Today in Queensland, in Tallebudgera Valley on the Gold Coast, the sun is shining. And I say that with an element of mirth because apparently from January 1st, we have had 4,000 millimetres of rain. And it's not even 6 months. So when I say we are feeling wet, soggy and sodden, I absolutely mean it. And the fact that the sun is shining today is enough cause for celebration. Welcome back to the Author and Artist Hour. I'm your co-host, Toni Lontis, and of course I co-host this show with the gorgeous Kez Wickham St George. But before I get on with the show, just a quick reminder that on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch and Twitter, we have the lovely Hannah ready and waiting to provide you with information about the things we talk about today and anything else you might want to ask. You can also catch up on any of our shows on our YouTube channel, which we would love you to subscribe to. I am trying to hit 25,000 subscribers by the end of May, and we are so close. So if you've ever wanted to subscribe to a YouTube channel, please subscribe to ours. A reminder too that you can see the replays of all of our shows on Zondra Networks USA, Binge TV Networks USA, Hero Go, and a multitude of other places. You can connect and download the Toni TV channel app on Roku, LG and Samsung, and the links for those are in the chat box. Today I want to do our welcome to the country, and it goes like this. I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language region, that's the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, and the Nugan people of Western Australia, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and broadcast, and pay my respect to the elders past and present and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. As you know, my gorgeous co-host, Kez Wickham St George, is an international best-selling author in her own right. She's an international magazine contributor, an author's mentor, an artist, and I get the privilege of talking to this amazing human being each and every week. And this week is no different as we explore the reasons why book reviews are so important to authors and the reading public. And we haven't explored this topic before, so before I get into it, big good morning to you, Kez.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Toni.
Hi, Kez. We've had a pretty big week in Australia. It's been the federal election and we've seen the existing Liberal Party decimated by the voters. I just quickly wondered your thoughts on the election. I know it's outside of book reviews, but federal elections in Australia are quite fascinating to watch and see how people respond to our politicians. Thoughts, Kez?
My thoughts were I am so glad that Labor got back in. I am a Labor person. And also, I was absolutely on the edge of my seat when I saw so many women come into the House of Parliament. It was really amazing to see. I think it was eight, 9 seats taken.
Yes.
And of course, we have our beautiful Labor leaders over here. And yeah, it was just really good to think that at long last we may be getting equality. That's what I was really excited about.
I have to say too, Kez, for me, I've actually been conservative voter most of my life, but as I've gotten older, I've actually thought more and considered my vote more and actually voted according to who I think could provide the best for the majority of people. And this time around it's Labor. But I'm with you, Kez. So, for perspective for our American listeners, we had a complete rise in independent candidates, and those independent candidates were women. And
Mm.
those women took blue ribbon seats away from sitting male politicians. Now, I know you guys are amazing, but to see women do that in key seats as an independent and not affiliated with a major party is
Mm.
exciting for the women of Australia. And I do think, as most commentators have said, this was a vote of Australian women saying enough is enough. We want change, we want to see change, and that's how we're going to vote. So it's exciting for us, Kez, and the way
It
forward for
is.
women
Mm.
in politics is going to
Yeah,
be very interesting.
yeah, I agree.
So, now we haven't explored the reasoning and the importance of book reviews before, and so I think it's a great topic. Why is a book review important, Kez? Not just for the author, but for the reading public.
A book review is your very first step into being recognized as an author. It's okay for family and friends to say, well done. Oh, that's so good, well done. But actually, I think the author still feels empty. You know, they want more recognition. Writing a book could take years. So a well done pat on the back, good on you, congratulations, to me, didn't fill my bucket. I wanted a book review. And I found written ones, but and not about me. I read written ones about other books, but I found that a book review can lead to sales and the promotion of your work.
Fantastic. It's a good way for authors to start to get that public recognition, isn't it, Kez?
It is. It is. A good book review can be written. And for a more in-depth way of it's a more in-depth way of connecting to your readers. But today we've changed. Today, Goodreads, Amazon, all those places, and there's some excellent places to write a book review. But that goes into depth of a book. But when you go to a digital platform, it's instant. People are
Mm-hmm.
seeing you, people are listening to you. You can throw your book up in the air on a digital platform and say, this is what I wrote. Look at this. You can really get stuck into it. Promote it yourself or find another promoter that will do it for you on a digital platform. It's so easy these days.
Absolutely, Kez. One of the things about book reviews is that not only is it important for the first book that you write, but for subsequent books, they become important as well, don't they?
I've written a trilogy, or trilogy as we call them,
Mm.
and yes, it is. It's very important to get your first book out there. Really, really ring that bell about your first book. The next two seem to take on lives of their own. People start asking for them once you've had that review. That's how important the first review is.
Mm. Kez, just thinking about that first review, what if it's a bad review?
Say that again, sorry, Toni.
So, thinking about that first review, what if it's
Mm-hmm.
a bad review?
Oh, a bad review. A bad review is non-interested. You can have us. It's a lovely book. That's it. I read the book. It was very nice, but they don't go into it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I've spent a whole year. It takes me a year to write a decent novel. To have that said, it would crush me. I've never had it. Thank God, I've never had it done. But I found
Ah,
I found that I can promote my own books on this platform and on other, like you go to your local radio, that's a
yes.
digital platform. You can go to
Mm-hmm.
your local TV station, another one. You can go to Toni TV, another
Yeah.
one. And it's to the amount of people that are on or that are listening and that are watching that you're actually in front of.
Mm.
We are busy people. The whole
Mm.
world is busy now. Even They think that authors, we seem to sit at home in a little cave and we pound the keyboard. We don't. We live a
No.
life. And it's like if you um if you can get yourself seen, it's the best thing in the whole world. Your
Mm.
book must be seen. Even if it's put into a book a bookshop front in the window. People are walking by. We don't have time. Most of us don't have time to go to Goodreads. The author will pick it up and tout it. There's I'm on Goodreads or on Amazon. How many other people have you read? I just went to Amazon. I had a good read.
Yeah.
It's not a lot, but there
Agreed.
are some fabulous reviews on those written platforms. Personally, I find digital is better for me as an experienced author, and that's my profession, I guess, as a writer.
Mm.
It's to make sure that my books are seen, and this is the way to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I have a little story. I have had my share of good reviews, but I remember distinctly when I got that bad review. And it was devastating because it was really mean, let me say. And so I had the option of responding, and my first instinct back then was to immediately respond. Retrospectively, I think you are always better to step back and think about it before you respond. But some people around me at that time suggested that you should celebrate a bad review as a milestone in authorship because um, if you're an author long enough, you'll eventually get a bad review of some description. Of course, the book, I don't write beautiful novels like Kez does. Mine was a hard hitting memoir of talking about tough stuff. So I knew that it would trigger some people in a way that would be quite negative for them, which is why I had a trigger warning at the beginning of the book. So it was not unexpected, but it still hurts when someone is deeply critical of your work. But that's one thing you've got to remember, isn't it, Kez? That it's actually there will be people from time to time who don't like your book, and that's okay because you're not writing for the minority, you're writing for the majority. And if the majority of people think that it's a great book, it absolutely is a great book. And even if it wasn't, it's still your heart and soul poured into the pages of a book, and that's a big accomplishment, isn't it, Kez?
It's huge. Absolutely huge. When I have reviews on my book, I've had a bad one. I've had
Yeah.
one or two bad ones, and they're not pleasant. The thing with an author, if it's your first book, it's going to hurt and hurt deeply.
Yeah.
You get to learn to read in the lines. You really do on a review that I won't call them bad because
Yeah.
every bad review, said it again, every review that's not very nice,
Yeah.
um, you've got to be open to it, receive it,
Yes.
and think, could I improve?
Yes.
Or do they need improving? So, you have this little conversation. You have this
Yeah.
conversation to yourself, well, do I respond or do I not? I mean, if you are truly going to give the author some help in their lives at being an author, then make sure it's not a negative. It's a
An
learning time.
honest, an
Mm,
honest review is always better. And if you're going to be
yeah.
negative in your review, conversely, find the positive because
Yes.
there will always be a positive. Always, always, always. So if you're delivering a negative review to an author, think very carefully about it, number one, but always find the good and add that as the final thing in your
Mm.
review. Kez, what are your thoughts about that?
Believes very true. If a person is going to write a review and it is even slightly negative, you can always couch it. You can always couch a remark. And by couching, I mean is choosing a non-negative word to put in there.
Mm.
There are many, many ways to write a review. I write them myself. I read them myself. I
Yeah,
actually give reviews every week.
you do.
And I just refuse to be negative about it. If there's a lesson, if I find something wrong, I've
Mm.
actually gone to a couple of really top authors
Mm.
and said, I can't do the review because of, and I've given them a reason. And these
Mm.
are top-notch authors that sell
Mm.
billions and billions of book, but
Mm.
perhaps the book wasn't proofread correctly, and I've picked it up. Now, I've been
Yeah.
an author for 15, 20 years, and
Yes.
I do pick it up. But the crazy thing is I've been that author for that long, and I never see it in my books. I wait for someone to come and say to me,
Oh,
there's a spelling, there's a
spelling.
typo in it. And you get so many of them. There's
Mm.
typos, there's this, there's that. So you go back to your publisher or your editor or wherever you've got the book done, and you say, can you fix this, please? That's all there is to it. If the book
Yeah.
is launched and there are typos in it, or there are scenes that don't seem to match each other, or something, and you feel that when you're reading it, it's not quite right. I think it's your responsibility as the author to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's our responsibility as the reader to point it out to the author. It's a two-way
Yeah.
road.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Mm.
and the other thing is too, I'm actually a big believer in, as a reformed perfectionist, I'm a big believer that we are imperfect by human nature. So, whilst most books are going to be typo free, there will be some books that have a typo. And I actually don't think that that's earth shatteringly an
No,
issue.
no, it's not.
A
Mm.
typo in a book is not a life or death situation. In the broader prospect, the broader idea of book writing is about the story. And I'm not one of those people that think that it's okay to point out typos in a book. I actually think get over it, folks. If there's multiple typos, so if you have a book
Mm.
filled with typos, that's a different story. But
Okay.
one or two typos within the constructs of a book, get over it. I kind of think that that's, just one of those things, because all it takes is that's just a human error, and
It
humans
is.
are imperfect by nature. But absolutely, it should be proofread. It should be as good as it can possibly be. But sometimes these things happen for whatever reason, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good enough reason to castigate an author. Oh, your book had a spelling mistake. Yeah, no.
Mm.
They've written a complete book that is without error, and you pick one spelling mistake. That's not okay, is it?
No, it's not. That's being petty. So if you
Yes.
if you find more than say five in a large novel, by
Yeah.
all means, I think be polite and
And just let them know.
contact
Mm.
the author and say, I paid $35 for this book, and I have found quite a few typing errors, because you've got to face it. I've
Yeah.
written the book. I've spent a year
Of
sweating
blood,
over this
sweat, and
book.
yeah.
Yeah, blood, sweat, and tears. Getting it right, sending it to an author, sending it to an editor. They send it back and say, "Oh, some work to be done." So
Mm.
you give your
You
heart,
do the
you work
work.
on the book, you make sure that it's perfect. Then it's sent off to a proofer or
Mm.
proofreader, and then it comes back to you again. Now, sometimes if you've got a good editor, that will be maybe two or three times you've gone through the book together.
Mm.
That's a lot of reading. That's a lot of
A lot of work.
heart-wrenching words changed about, the sentences changed about, the
Mm.
paragraphs topped up, and it takes a lot of work. You've got to have a really good editor. Don't get mum and dad or sister or brother to edit your book.
Mm.
Never. Although I did get my grandson to edit one of my books, he was spot on. He was absolutely spot on, and he was only 10. So I think when it comes to a review, let's petty stuff. Let's get into the nitty gritty of the book. Let's think
Yeah.
about what can we do? What is the first reaction of a client when they pick up a book, whether it's in the library or a bookshop? For me personally, I go to the blurb, which is the back of the book. What about
Ah,
you?
yes. I
That,
that's the only thing I read. Well, honestly, if it's a good cover, the cover will grab your attention, but it's the back of the book that you read first, isn't it?
That's right. For
Mm-hmm.
me, that's the thing that grabs me. If it's blah, I think, okay, she's written this novel. Let's have a look on the inside. Let's be fair about things. As a professional book reviewer, that's my job, to be
Mm-hmm.
completely and utterly fair about what I review. So I have a look. I'm a speed reader, so I will maybe spend
Yes.
2 or 3 hours trying to pick out the things in that book that I really love to read, underlining them. There's a lot of work to being a
Yeah.
good book reviewer. It's I've got the book and people say, why do you want a book? There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. The smell of a new book, the look of a cover, and I do hold the book up. Um, I did this one the other day, Susie Dent, and I like to be able to hold the book up and show people
Yes.
what I've got in my hand. So the back of the book could have had some more work done to it. The back of 2 or 3 books I've got in front of me could have more work done to them. It's my job as a book reviewer, going digital and going live, to
Mm.
make that book look good. That's my job.
Mm. Kez,
And it's
what do you look for in a review from your personal perspective as an author and as a reviewer? What do you look for when you read an actual book review? What are the elements that people should cover if they're going to take the time to review a book? What should be in that review?
a combination of author skill.
Mm-hmm.
Can they educate you on what they're writing about? Just as from the blurb at the back of the book.
Yes. Yes.
Um, can they I'm not talking about a high education here. I'm talking about, can they educate me, which is telling me in maybe a paragraph what that book is about and bringing out all the juicy bits. Or if it's not that sort of book, letting me know what I'm in for.
Yeah.
If it's a serious book. I had an author arrive at my door the other day with 3 books on Dracula, and I'm not a fan. I really aren't a fan. Horror books, you know, in that genre,
Mm.
I sort of thought, well, what can I do with it? Because she was so excited about being
Oh
presented.
yes.
And so I spent up till I think midnight last night going through all 3, because the back of the book didn't excite me at all. But
Mm-hmm.
inside the book was amazing. So I
Yeah.
dragged out all these things. That is my responsibility, to drag it out, to make sure that book is presented well. So if you're on a digital platform and you're presenting, make sure you have that information. When you're writing a review, please make sure that you've read some of the book to give a decent, an honest review. And go to some of the major platforms that are free to go to. They're absolutely free. A
Yes.
written review is free. So
Yes.
yeah, or I put it on Facebook. I've read this book, la la la. Give them a review on Facebook. Put it on their page. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong
Yes.
with that.
And it's really helpful from an author's perspective because it gives them a level of it gives other people who are searching for a good book to read a reference point. And allows them to go, oh, okay, so there's all these good reviews about the book, and this is what it's about. Oh, I might actually read that. So it's about getting more people to read your books, and reviews help that process along, don't they?
Well, the other way of doing it is, where I live, we have a book group. I'm not
Yes.
involved with it because I'm biased,
Yeah.
but I do get very biased about some of the. I think, no, that's not good. That is, but so I don't belong to it. And when I do get a decent book review from them, there's 6 women that have read that book, and
Mm.
each 6 women have a different point of view, which is
Yeah.
called an opinion of the book.
Mm.
Now that's valuable. It is
Yes.
valuable knowledge, because I have said to them, I've given them a set of my books.
Mm.
Please give me a review. I don't care what you
Whether
say
it's
about the book. I want a review
yeah.
so I see where I could actually improve. That's the way a book review should be looked upon.
Mm.
These book groups, they don't realize that a mouth to mouth People talking about your book inside the group. It just
Mm,
doesn't stay there. It's
mm,
it's like wind, it goes. So
yeah.
the library might get hold of what a great book it is, they will promote it. Your
Mm,
friends will think, oh, she really enjoyed that book. She wouldn't talk to me for 3 hours. I'll read the book
mm,
as well. So
yes.
that's the way when you get book groups, that's another way of getting a review.
Mm, mm. And again, it's really a helpful thing for authors, particularly for new authors. And I encourage
Mm.
any of our listeners to diversify your interest and read lots of different genres, lots of different books. From my perspective, when I was younger, I was an avid consumer of books. Now I'm an avid consumer of audiobooks. They're my
Mm.
favorite thing to do. I have them in my car, I have them on the phone, so that I can actually listen whenever I've got a spare moment. But for younger readers out there, I encourage you to look across different genres and figure out what it is that you like, because once you've read enough of a particular genre, you have some expertise in what the book should how the book should flow in
Mm.
terms of your perspective, and from in terms of what you're reading. So there's multiple different genres and each of them are quite different. Should the reviewer reference the genre and how it fits with other books in the genre?
No,
What do you think?
no,
Yeah.
no. Well, for me personally, no, I don't do that. I
Yeah.
have many sets of books given to me, like trilogies, given to
Mm-hmm.
me, and will you review them? And I don't, I don't do that, Tony. Each book
Yeah.
is separate. Each book is valuable on its own. I mean, if it's a set of poetry
Fantastic.
books, if it's a set of
Yes.
poetry books, I don't. Each book's no book's the same. See,
Mm.
my own books are to do with travel, paranormal, adventure, romance.
Yeah.
How do you put that into one sentence? Because people will think, well, I just want adventure. But if I read that book, I get travel. And if I get that, I get this. So don't try and put too much into it.
Mm.
The one thing that we do as humans, especially when we learn to write properly, is that we put too much into it.
Mm.
A simple two sentences
Mm.
will actually do such a wonderful review. It really
Mm.
will. All you have
Definitely.
to do is describe the inside of the book in one, if you can do it in one
Yeah.
sentence. And even though I've been doing it for, I find that difficult. I don't do
I was
written
going to
reviews
say
anymore.
that's tricky to put it into one sentence in thinking of written reviews. That could be challenging, couldn't it?
But that's the beauty of it. Why not challenge
Mm,
yourself?
mm, mm.
If you want to
Kev,
educate yourself, try and do that.
yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking that that's a great exercise in trying to convert what the story's about into one or two sentences. That's a great challenge. 'Cause when you're writing a review and you say that you don't write them anymore, you much prefer the video format because it's much more easy to consume, isn't it? A video book review.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is that what are some of the main points that you like to cover in a review?
Uh, a Facebook review takes 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to, that's a video that you have to share.
Yes.
When you go live, you can go forever,
Yeah.
but people are busy.
Yeah.
So short, sharp, quick review, people
Mm-hmm.
will actually think, oh, okay, and they look at minutes. That's
Yeah.
all it takes. Um, what do I cover? I
Mm.
normally go for the blurb of the book, the back of the book, and
Yeah.
try and glean something out of that.
Yeah.
And I always promote the author,
Yeah.
always. It's her hard work, it's their heart. It's
Mm.
gone into that book. Who am
Mm.
I to say, I will read the book, folks? End story. I try and glean a little bit out of it, promote it, and then promote the author, and then promote the platform they're on.
Yeah. 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 And you also go into the skill of the author and the flow of the story and what enticed you as well, if you have the opportunity, don't you, Kez?
That's right. If it's, as I said, you go into the back of the book, you can read if it's cleverly written, and
Mm,
that's the point.
yeah.
Put your heart into the back of the book as well. It's not
Yeah.
just something that, oh well, I finished the book and I'll leave that with bits and pieces on it. I've had it done to me, especially by different publishers, and
Mm,
it hasn't caused any interest. So I've had to go back and change the back of the book. Costs time and money. So to any author, make sure the back of the book is so worthwhile reading. Get a
ah,
professional to do it for you if you have to. As
yeah.
for promoting on a digital platform, to me, I'm busy. I write my own books. I run different courses. I do different things with my life. So sitting down and actually writing, I just have the time for it anymore. But
Mm,
to sit here and give a review, I do have the time because
yeah.
it's people are listening. People are thinking, okay, I didn't give that book much of a hands up, but I might go back and reassess it. That's what doing reviews is all about, helping the people see that what's inside the book is worthwhile
Is well
reading.
worth a read. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Kezzy, what are your favourite books to read slash review? Other than your own, because your own are
Uh-huh.
brilliant and standalone, of
Thank
course.
you. Of course.
But what do you enjoy from a personal perspective? What's the most enjoyable books for you to read?
My most enjoyable book is self-improvement. I love
Ah,
self-improvement.
same,
But
same.
also on the other side of his is this little girl that wants to be taken away by an adventure story. I love
Mm-hmm.
adventure
Yeah,
stories.
yeah,
Give me a ride in a caravan. I'm going through the desert, and I'm right there with you.
yeah. So
That's
you
who I
like
am.
those? You like those adventure? You like those stories that sort of take you out of the normal. That's something about book readers in general. The reason that they read is they want to be taken out of their everyday life and to be given a book that takes them into another world, for instance, and be that
That's right.
a mystery world, crime world, romance, super normal.
Mm,
Like it can be anything, can't it? But as long as they're taken out of their everyday
mm,
and transported into another place and time, that's the enjoyment for book readers or book listeners, as I'd like to describe myself. I'm a book listener. I'm no longer a book reader. I'm a book listener. But the same thing happens. For me, it's more powerful. The spoken word actually
mm,
transports me. I'm very much a auditory, sensory person, so hearing the
mm,
book is a very powerful experience for me. But for many, many others, reading is still the way that they go.
mm.
And the other thing is that for many people now, it's not just about the paperback or hard copy. You can actually get that book in ebook form and in Kindle. And I'm wondering from a
Mhm.
review perspective, does it make any difference how you consume the book to how you review it? So if a book is available in paperback, hardback, ebook, and audio, does it make a difference to the review that you write? I'm just curious.
It shouldn't do.
No,
It should not do.
correct.
But if I have a book in my hand, like a solid book in my hand,
Yeah,
I have the um, I have the opportunity to put the book down and go do something else.
yeah.
But a good book, and this is the great review, will hook you into that book. You
And you
really,
can't stop
you know,
reading.
I've rocked the pram and peeled the spuds and read a book. I've had the book up there because I could not put it down. And years and years and years ago, when my kids were very, very young, I used to have a little book holder sitting on my bench. The baby was crying. I'd be rocking the pram. I'd be cooking whatever for dinner, prepping dinner, and continuing to read snippets of the book. Even in magazines, you
Yeah,
find a good story you can't go away from. When it
yeah.
comes to ebook, when it comes to the digital side of things, it's just too easy to stop it, shut it down.
Mm.
It's too easy.
Mm.
We've made things so easy. So therefore it comes back to a good review on a book will make that person search for your book
Mm.
and read the book, no matter what
Mm.
genre it comes in, digital, paperback, magazine, newspaper. You get to know the author. And that's the biggest thrill of my life. When a
Yeah, yeah,
person
yeah,
says, where's the next book out, Kez? That's
yeah.
the biggest thrill in any author's life. The next one
Definitely.
is a decent review,
Yeah.
whether it's written or digital. Be kind, be thoughtful, and be educated in using your words on giving a review. Just
Mm.
don't write something that think, oh, well, I didn't like it. Well, tough bickies. Tell me why you
Why
didn't
didn't you
like it.
like it?
Yeah,
We think the
yeah.
same. Kezzy, in talking about book reviews, there's a number of platforms and ways in which you can do a book review. So I wanted to explore some of the places that you find book reviews, some of the ways that you do book reviews, and where people can find them, because there's lots of different places you can find a book review. Now, we've
Mhm.
talked about Goodreads and
Yeah.
Amazon, and
Mhm.
they're available digitally online. So you just go
Yeah.
into Goodreads, find the book that you're reading, and write a review. The same with Amazon. But there's other ways that you can leave a review. Can you talk through some of those?
Sure. You can actually, if your book is in a bookstore, they often put the back of the book up, the review, in like a paper casing, and they have it above the book. That is number one, or one way you can do it. The other
Mm,
way is when you introduce yourself, like giving author talks, which is very
mm.
important.
Yep.
Also, make sure that you hand out, you print the back of the book off, and each person in that room has a copy. They know what you're
Ah.
talking about.
Mm,
The front of the piece of paper can have the picture of the book. The back has got, it's just like a book, a
mm.
piece of paper.
Yeah.
Make sure your clients know what you're talking about. They can,
Mm,
you know, people walk around with pens and markers and God knows what in their pockets. Let them
yeah.
mark it out. Let them figure out what they want to read about the book. That's another good way of doing it.
Yeah.
Book clubs all the time.
Mm,
Book clubs are marvelous ways of getting your book out there. Um, Gosh, Toni, there are so many things we can do now, but
yeah.
the biggest thing that I've ever found in the last 2 years is actually getting it onto a digital platform.
Ah, that was my next question. So by digital, you're talking about social media,
Yeah,
including YouTube, etc.,
yeah.
etc.
hmm there are 199 book reviews on my YouTube channel.
Yes.
So
That's a lot.
that was one a week. And
Hmm.
because I let it go for 6 weeks at a rest, I've now got about 50 books sitting on my desk ready to go again. So, so I'm right for the year. I
Gosh,
know.
I'm so glad that you're a speed reader. I used to be a speed reader too. I was thinking the other day, how on earth did I get that speed reading skill? I think it kind of happened almost organically that I
Mhm.
learnt how to speed read because I'm a kind of impatient girl by nature and I wanted to get through a story quicker. And so that developed my speed reading. And so now it's nothing for me to consume books in. If I was reading a book, I used to be able to consume them in half a day or a day, like even quite big books,
Mm.
because of speed reading. And you actually get a true concept of what the writer and the flow of the story, even when you speed read, but understanding how many books you get sent, Kez, and how many
Mm.
reviews you need to do, that speed reading skill must become invaluable in that process.
It's down to a retentive memory. That's all it's down to.
Mm.
Speed reading, and I'm going to give a review. I can read 4 books. I can speed
Yeah.
read 4 books in a week.
Yeah.
So it's having a retentive memory so I can actually talk about these books. It's no good getting them mixed up. I do have to do some writing. I do
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
put markers in books.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, um, yeah, one book at a time is fine for me these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just giving that valuable review. no matter where it's put, whether I
Yeah.
write about it, if they want a written one, I write them one. Not
Mm-hmm.
often, because they all want
Yeah.
to use a digital platform these days because it's so
Yes.
instant. But,
Yes.
for anyone listening out there that is an author, make sure you use the correct digital platform too, the one that's going to ask you the right questions.
Mm. Definitely. And Kez, is it okay for authors to ask to find book reviewers and specifically ask them to read the
Of
book? I
course.
know this is
Yes.
how you get all of your books. People send you books and said, can you please review my book? I just wanted to make sure that authors understand that you actually can ask people to review the book. Of course, they may say no, or they may say, give me 6 months, I've got too many to
That's
review
right.
and send it back then, which I know is Kez's sometimes has to do because I've seen the amount of books that she gets sent or given for review. But for authors listening, it's actually okay to ask other people to do a review for you.
You don't have to be a professional reviewer. I took it on
Correct.
because I actually saw there was a need for it. And my
Yeah.
publisher did say to me, there's a
Mm,
great need for a reviewer. So I thought, how can I
mm,
do this?
mm,
When I first started, I had to ask,
mm.
and it wasn't digital then. I had to go onto
Yes.
Amazon, Goodreads, and then it got digital. And I thought I
Mm,
can do this myself.
mm.
But finding I'm talking about my own books is
Yeah.
a little bit like, oh gosh, people just think I'm blowing my own horn, and I was.
Mm,
But
mm.
you have to, if you want to get read, you have to. So
You
if
do.
you want someone to write a review, then ask them, and it can
Mm.
be anybody. Try and stay away from family; they're biased. You want an honest review, completely
From an
honest review. So that
independent
may mean
person.
that's right. That may mean when you give an honest, you have to say to the book, well, it's ebook only,
Mm.
and fair enough. They should be able to send it to you. A
Yeah,
book reviewer shouldn't have to pay for the book.
correct.
It should be sent to you.
Hmm.
And sometimes a small offer of payment is always delightfully accepted. Most of
Mm.
the time, a book review is done as a freebie.
Yeah.
I, 2 minutes a week isn't anything out of my schedule to sit down. But what they don't think is the time it took me to
To
prepare.
read the book and then
Yeah,
to put the words together that write an
that's right.
honest and valuable review.
Yeah. So it takes
It
a good
should
two
be
or three
paid.
hours. It
Mm.
should be a paid thing. But then again, I'm not going to, most book reviewers, we haven't got the time to sit there and think, oh, I need money for this one. We just
Yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead and
you
we do
just
it.
do it.
We
And
just
you
do it
do
for
it
the love of the author.
and the support of other authors because you know
Yeah.
how hard it is out
Oh,
there
it's
for
hard.
authors.
Yeah.
Everyone is publishing books.
Yeah.
If ever there was a time in humanity where publishing a book is open to anyone, anywhere, now is that time. There are traditional publishers, but more and more often there are the non traditional ways to publish or self
Mm.
publish, indeed. And it's important that people have those options. You have that option to write your book, and getting book reviews is an important part of that. I know when I wrote my book and first started sending off the first order of books, I had a one page insert that I put into the book, and it actually just talked about the importance of book reviews.
Mm.
Would they consider doing one? If you do, here's how to do it. Because sometimes people may want to talk about your book, they want to give you a good review, they want to tell you, oh, this is a great book, but they don't know how to do it. So, not everyone understands that you can or how to do it. So, guide them. Hey, Kez, tell them how
That's
they
right.
can do it.
Yep. It's a good thing putting something in the back of your book. Like
Mm,
in the back of my books, I haven't done it, but
yeah.
my digital address is there to
Hmm.
for them to contact me to have a discussion at any time. Just say to me, I found this about your book. I found that, if I find that what they're saying is delightful, I think, can
Yeah.
I write this down while you're saying it and add your name? Because
Yeah.
people don't have the time to sit and write anymore.
Mm,
They're busy on their keyboards. So
that's
okay,
right.
spend 10 minutes with me on a keyboard and write me a review. It is such a simple thing to do. And it is actually honoring yourself. and the author. The author's
Mm.
known you've read a book. You most probably you'll get with the next lot of his books coming through saying, I received such a fabulous review. Will you do these as well? That's an
Mm.
honor.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's trustworthy. That's showing the trust in your words. Yeah.
Definitely. Kez, how have book reviews helped you with your own novels?
They've made me very aware that not everybody loves my work.
Mm.
Not everybody. And when you write your first book, you think, oh my God, people are going to fall in love with this. I'm going to sell zillions and be rich and wealthy and the dream goes on. And then
Mm-hmm.
the dream sort of starts to shrink.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, goodness, I've sold 20 copies and I better do something about this because I've got 300 copies sitting in the shed. So you
Yeah.
actually, this is when you start getting serious about your book reviews. Personally, to be honest, I haven't had much trouble selling my books because my books are about human emotions
Mm.
traveling, men and women
Yes.
traveling together. What
Mm-hmm.
happens, it's I like to put a bit of humor in it, but to do a good review, you've got to keep the ebb and the flow going about the book. And I don't have a problem with others' books, but when people have given reviews on mine, I've always been delighted with them, apart from the two or three that said, there are big bloops, and that hadn't been well proofed. Mm.
Oh, I think my internet has decided to drop out. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I got a little message this morning from the Starlink team that said we have no satellites at the moment. I'm like, oh, that's not good. And I've been watching, I have a little app on my phone that keeps track of the internet. And I could see earlier today there were just lots and lots of outages. And it's been fine leading up to the show. And I'm like, okay, we'll be right for our show today. And then it's just had just a moment's glitch. So I'm watching it intently. So if I drop out, I'm so sorry, people. But Elong's satellites must be having a moment today. Unusual for them. They're usually pretty reliable, but they must
Yeah.
be having a moment up there. Kezzy, back to reviews, and I wanted you to tell us the difference between a synopsis, a prologue, and a blurb.
Oh, I love that. Synopsis, prologue, and blurb. Well, you can actually blend the both. When you're
Yes.
doing a review, you can actually bring them all together. Now, prologue is a part of the story,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, a summary of the entire book.
Yep.
That is a prologue. I'm going to read this to you because I have
Yes.
actually gone through dictionaries,
To,
and Mr. Google was very, very good. The synergy of the author artist is right for the platform that's going to include the artist and make sure it's a good mix. So the prologue is actually part of the story. A
mm-hmm.
synopsis is the summary of the entire book. A
Yep.
blurb is written on the back cover of the book. Now
Yes.
that is what was it, slang. Blurb is slang. That was
I
this
know, but we
huge.
all use it, don't we? We all just
Well, it's
call the back
common.
of the book the blurb.
Yeah, it's common knowledge. That's what it's called. But it does have a very long, elongated name.
Mm.
And I thought, well, I'll just use blurb because
Mm.
we all know that's what it means. Um, the blurb is the paragraph that is descriptive on the back of the book. This is used, according to Mr. Google and according to Kez Wickham St George, this is used as your promotion. Use it as your promotion. It's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone has the time to read a book and then give
Mm-hmm.
a review. There are reviewers out there that do this and they are treasured. But
Oh,
then you get
yes.
reviewers like myself that will go online on my own personal Facebook page and do a review, send it to you, and then put it on my YouTube station. And then there
Mm.
are platforms like Toni TV where we invite the authors to join us and talk about their books. They get a whole
Yeah.
hour.
Yes.
I mean, that's amazing. Not even a
Oh,
written review.
absolutely. Because once you have an interview on a digital platform like Toni TV, then that's yours. That content is yours. Those files are yours, and you can do audiograms, you can do videograms, you can chop it up and have little video quotes and video segments, and it's completely usable on your social media. And if you talk to Kez and I, you might find out elements that resonate with us, and you also get to tell a bigger story about the
Mm.
process of writing and publishing your book. People want to know, readers want to know, what's your process? Readers
Mm.
want to know, how did you come up with the concept? Readers want to know, what's the editing process like? Readers want to know, what's the publishing process like? Readers want to
Mm.
know where they can buy your book. And finally, readers want to know if you'll do a review for them. Because again, those reviews are important to authors to sell books and to get them interested and other people interested in their particular book. And if they
Mm.
want to go on and continue to write more books, these become more and more important, don't they, Kez?
They do. And also, I think we realize that the digital world is growing
Mm-hmm.
immensely.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be able to, in the very near future, have little holograms pop up and someone
Yes.
speak about your book. Now, I believe it's already happening in far parts of overseas, but there's no proof of that yet.
Mm.
But so far, if you, as an author, you want your book reviewed and you think, I haven't got a decent review anywhere, then contact someone like Toni or myself. I can give you a
Absolutely.
2-minute one, and then Toni will walk you through the process of going onto a digital platform or give you an hour's
Absolutely.
review. But even just for the 2-minute one, I used to spend the time when I had more time, excuse me, when I had more time, used to put it onto 5 different platforms. Now I've wisened up. I do the review. Believe you me, it takes me 2 hours to set up. I've read the book, two
Yes.
hours to set my desk up, get everything going right, make sure the internet's going,
Mm.
because I have the same problem as you,
Yeah.
all the Sputniks and all the little bits up there bumping into each other. So then you give the review. Now it's only 2 minutes, but
Mm.
that's yours, and you can put it on as many platforms as you like.
Definitely. Definitely.
So
It's
when
it's
a review arrives on my phone of a book, I think, oh, this is great. This is wonderful. Because
absolutely.
I'm sitting here with a cup of tea, and I'm watching someone talk to me about the book.
Yeah.
I think this is absolutely a fabulous idea. I don't have
Yeah.
to think, oh, well, I'll get back to the book now, or the book's
Mm.
calling me. I know that the blurb on the back of that book has enticed that person to speak
To
about it
read.
and give a review. This is
Mm.
so important to all authors to have that review. Their books
Definitely.
must be known. You just can't write a book and think, there you go. There you go. Well, I've written a book. What do I
Mm.
do now? Because
Yeah.
the disappointment grabs you. If you're going to write a book, the object was to have people read it. Am
Yeah,
I right?
definitely. Definitely. And you want to get those reviews and you want to make sure that you are part and parcel of your book promotion. So it's not up to anyone else except you to get your book reviewed. And once you know who you can connect with to do that, then you should do that. And the other consideration is that in the world of getting out a new book, you should talk to as many people as possible. And one of those avenues is the Author and Artist Hour with Kez and myself. We will take the time to interview you about your book, your writing process, and your journey into published author, because it is a valuable thing. It's a legacy for you. Anyone who writes a book is leaving a legacy for further generations, because it will not only stay around as a physical copy, the digital version of your book will stay around for millennia. So it's quite conceivable that Kez's great, 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 great grandchildren will be reading her books in millennia to come. And that's a phenomenal
Mm.
legacy to leave. So if you have the book reviews that accompany this book, that's amazing.
It is.
And that, my friends, is your lot for this week. Thank you for indulging us in talking about the importance of book reviews for authors across the planet. Please don't forget to get in contact with Kez if you're interested in having your book reviewed, and connect with me if you're interested in coming on the Author and Artist Hour. We will be back next week with another episode of the Author and Artist Hour. Please thank my gorgeous co-host, Kez Wickham St George.
Thank you, Toni.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'm so grateful that you've come on the show today to tell us about this process, because we must tell these stories. We